I'm Liz Faublis, and this is Currents. What is the fate of the Health and Human Services mandate? The Supreme Court may point the way. Plus, the Brooklyn Diocese Irish Apostolate stands in solidarity with a big event in its home country.
Every 5 years, the Church has an International Eucharistic Congress, and this year it was Ireland's turn to host it.
And dads get their due.
I do this Father's Club because I like to try and be around more often for my son than my father was able to be for me.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The constitutionality of the government's health care law. Sometime this month, maybe as early as next week, we are expecting the U.S. Supreme Court to either strike down or approve the Patient Protection Care and Affordability Act, known as Obamacare. At issue is the central question of mandating individuals to purchase health insurance or pay a fine for not complying. Now, while a very narrow exemption to the rule has been proposed, most religious organizations would be forced to pay for birth control and abortion-causing drugs for their employees, regardless of their religion or views. Now, U.S. bishops have been fiercely and unanimously outspoken on the issue from its onset, saying the government is forcing Americans to violate their consciousness and overlook their rights to religious liberties. Meantime, law firms, including the Becket Fund, which is a nonprofit institution known for defending religious liberty cases, have jumped headfirst into the issue by filing lawsuits on behalf of several Catholic companies and colleges, including an interdenominational school, against President Barack Obama's employer contraception mandate. Now, the firm has compiled possible outcomes to this ongoing legal and religious debate. Earlier, I spoke with Emily Hardman, Communications Director for the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty, about two possible scenarios and the future of the controversial health care law. Now, Emily, barring any surprises, reports show that Thursday will be the next chance for the Supreme Court to hand down an opinion on President Obama's sweeping health care initiative. Now, most court analysts aren't expecting it until sometime next week. What do you think at the Becket Fund?
It's hard to say what a court will or will not do. So it's hard to say. I think most people are saying it's going to be either next Monday or the next Thursday. We don't expect it to go too much further after that because the Supreme Court goes into recess, and I think everyone's anxious for their summer vacation. Okay, and as you've detailed in your recent article, this could turn out a number of ways, and Becket has compiled actually a couple of scenarios and possible outcomes. First, what if the Supreme Court upholds the law and finds Congress was within its authority to require that most people have health insurance or pay a penalty? Yeah, so even a 9-0 win for the government at the Supreme Court does not derail our religious liberty lawsuits. Essentially, what the Supreme Court is ruling on right now has nothing to do with our cases. So our cases can keep moving forward. Again, even a 9-0 victory for the government would still mean our lawsuits move forward. Okay, so what happens to the rest of the health care law, including the HHS mandate, if the Supreme Court strikes down the individual mandate as unconstitutional, which is really the heart of a lot of our issues right now? Right. So if the Supreme Court finds that only part of the health care law is unconstitutional, it still is not deciding the constitutionality of the HHS mandate. So once again, even if they cut out the individual mandate part and say the rest of the law stays, our cases still move forward. Again, they didn't rule on our case. And you know what? I really want to drive this home for our viewers, Emily, and perhaps we can hear this in your own words. Why is this particular exemption so troubling? What we have is the most radical and narrow exemption in federal history. It essentially changes what it means to be a religious institution. Because in the mandate says, as soon as you serve someone not of your faith or employ someone not of your faith, you lose your religious protection. So what this is saying is Mother Teresa would not qualify for the religious exemption because she served people not of her faith and she helped people not of her faith. It's a pretty radical view on what being religious means.
And let's quantify it a little bit more, Emily, and talk about it in terms of numbers. What are the penalties if religious employers don't fall within this exemption and don't comply with the mandate? What's the ultimate cost in terms of monetary value?
The fines are crippling, and I'm happy that you bring that up. For an organization such as EWTN, the fines would be up to $600,000 per year, and that goes up each year. Essentially, it comes down to about $2,000 per employee per year for not complying with this mandate. So what this means essentially is that many homeless shelters, many soup kitchens, those institutions which are that serve the most vulnerable in society are going to have to shut their doors. What this really does is it hurts the poor and those who serve the poor.
And I want to drive this home again for our viewers. You're no stranger to this. The Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty has led the charge against the administration's unconstitutional HHS mandate. You've backed a lot of people, including EWTN that you just mentioned. Today there are about 23 separate cases, about 56 individual plaintiffs representing universities, businesses, schools, and people. They're all speaking out with one voice. And how do you expect that to proceed from this point on?
I think you will only see more people coming out and standing in opposition to this mandate. Like I said, it's the most radical mandate, is unprecedented, and it's clearly unconstitutional. So I think a lot of people are just waiting to see how the Supreme Court decision comes down, and I think you'll even see more opposition against this mandate.
And they're calling for them to rescind the entire mandate. How likely is that?
Well, the administration has taken a pretty extreme view. They've tried 2 different times to so-called accommodate these religious organizations to make it better, you know, to still make their agenda move forward. But the administration has failed 2 separate times to do this. And basically, the mandate, not a single comma, has been changed in the mandate. So they're still blatantly forcing religious organizations to violate their conscience or pay a severe fine. I don't think it's very likely that the administration, without significant pressure, is going to change their mind anytime soon.
Emily, when you first heard about this and when you first picked up the cause in terms of your representation, do you think the government ever expected that our bishops, the Catholic institutions, universities, to go this far with their objective?
That's a great question. I can't really speak for the administration, but I think that the position that the administration took to think that people would just sit idly by fundamentally changing what it means to be religious and by threatening the religious rights of thousands of people. I mean, it would be somewhat astonishing to think that if the administration didn't think that this would rally the cause of religious freedom for thousands of people.
I think astonishing is a very good word. Thank you so much for joining us, Emily. I really appreciate your time, and we'll certainly be in touch as we follow this a lot further down the road.
Wonderful. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. And stay tuned, the day's top headlines are next. But first, yesterday it was all about the dads, and we figured Father's Day was the perfect opportunity to ask fathers and their children for the best advice their fathers ever gave them. We headed out to Our Lady of Hope in Middle Village for some answers.
The best advice my father ever gave me.
Don't always care about what other people think about you.
Be the person you are, not the person somebody wants you to be.
Say what you believe what you say, and stand behind anything you say.
Best advice my father ever gave me?
He said to move far away from my in-laws, so no, but...
It's probably to think before I did anything, so I wouldn't make the same mistakes he did.
Always try new things if you have the opportunity.
To my father was always make sure you work hard and don't get into trouble.
Best advice my father ever gave me was that it takes all kinds to make the world go round. And you got to get to know everybody and not to always judge the book by the cover. Actually open it and read a couple pages and see what people really have to offer.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faublis. In an apparent turnaround, the Catholic Health Association, a major supporter of President Barack Obama's health reform law, is urging the government to rethink its definition of religious employers exempt from the requirement to provide contraceptives and sterilization free of charge to their employees. CHA officials also saying that the Obama administration should provide and pay for the contraceptives if it insists that they must be provided at no cost to women. They claim that the administration's proposed accommodation allowing non-exempt religious employers to provide the contraceptives through a third party would be unduly cumbersome and would be unlikely to meet the religious liberty concerns of all members and other church ministries. Vatican officials are saying that reported power struggles and lack of unity within the Vatican are figments of reporters' imaginations. Secretary of State Cardinal Tarcisio Bertoni told an Italian Catholic weekly that journalists reporting on the so-called Vatican scandal remind him of Dan Brown's fictitious Da Vinci Code. The Vatican has been on the defensive ever since sensitive documents alleging corruption and exposing power struggles began appearing in the Italian media in January. Cardinal Bertoni acknowledged that church structures aren't perfect. He did say none of us wants to hide the church's shadows and defects, but he added the media, the Italian media in particular, had gone too far and appeared to be trying to create divisions between the Pope and his collaborators where there weren't any. And as that Vatican saga continue, new developments. In April, Pope Benedict XVI appointed 3 cardinals to investigate a series of leaked Vatican documents. Well, the clerics, who are working separately from a criminal probe headed by the Pope's top bodyguard, have begun briefing the Pope on their findings so far. The appointed panel is headed by one of the Pope's top legal heavyweights, Cardinal Julian Herranz, an Opus Dei prelate. The cardinals were given a board mandate to interview Vatican officials across the board to get to the bottom of the leaks to Italian journalists. The information shared without the Pope's knowledge laid bare power struggles inside the Vatican over its efforts to show greater financial transparency and comply with international norms to fight money laundering. Meanwhile, in the ongoing violence in Nigeria, suicide car bombers attacked 3 churches in a northern Nigerian state on Sunday. 19 people were killed. Dozens were wounded. Christian youths reportedly retaliated by dragging Muslims from cars and killing them. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the bombings. The Islamist group Boko Haram has often taken credit for attacks on churches. The Christian Association of Kano, northern Nigeria's main city, called the bombings a clear invitation to religious war. Well, imagine strapping on a backpack and heading out on an 1,100-mile mission accompanied by a few thousand faithful. What would make that trip worth it? We found out from Rome Reports.
Every year, thousands of pilgrims get their backpacks ready and head out on a mission of roughly 1,100 miles. It's all part of a pilgrimage route called Via Francigena. It goes through England, France, Switzerland, and Italy until arriving to the very heart of Christianity, the tomb of St. Peter. Rome's Basilica of San Giovanni Battista dei Fiorentini opened its doors as a meeting point to accommodate some of those pilgrims before they make it to the Vatican.
Che il pellegrino trovi qui in questa chiesa anche un luogo dove sostare, riposarsi, riprendere energia fisica, mi pareva la logica conseguenza, poi un segno di grande accoglienza.
The so-called welcoming center is on the side door of the basilica in a room called Fiorentini. In fact, that room was actually the oratory of St. Philip Neri, who was the first pastor of this church. Now, years later, some of the saint's famous sayings are on the wall of the room. Aside from taking a break, pilgrims can also request a certificate that shows they've taken part in at least 62 miles of the route. A group of pilgrims attended this presentation ceremony after covering about 23 miles of the journey.
Un cammino che è spirituale, ma anche, diciamo, per chi vuole fare un trekking è molto semplice, camminare e pregare anche, perché si incontrano dei bei punti, diciamo, di preghiera.
Each pilgrim can decide how much of a distance they want to travel. Some even go on a second stage. After arriving in St. Peter's, they decide to go on to Jerusalem. In Italy, one of the most popular routes is, of course, the Via Francigena. It runs for 155 miles, all the way from Assisi to the eternal city of Rome.
Elsewhere, a nod of approval from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops to the Obama administration. Speaking on behalf of the U.S. CCB, Archbishop Jose Gomez of Los Angeles said the announcement by President Obama granting administrative relief to an estimated 800,000 young illegal immigrants, allowing them to remain in the country to work and study without fear of deportation, was welcomed by the committee. The chairman of the U.S. CCB Committee on Migration said, quote, "This important action will provide protection from removal and work authorization for a vulnerable group of immigrants who deserve to remain in our country and contribute their talents to our communities." According to the Christian Science Monitor, the so-called DREAM Act will not provide any pathway to permanent residency, but should energize both immigration activists and opponents as the election approaches. CSM also reports it should help President Obama with Latino voters who have criticized the administration's deportation policies. Finally tonight, a bit of a mystery. Remains thought to be those of a biblical figure may have been discovered in an ancient church in Bulgaria. A researcher at the University of Oxford claims a small handful of 6 human bones found in 2010 by 2 Romanian archaeologists may belong to John the Baptist, according to FoxNews.com. Now, there's still no way to be sure, however, since there are no confirmed pieces of John the Baptist to compare to the fragments of bone. Still, the sarcophagus holding the bones was found near a second box bearing the name of St. John and his feast date of June 24th, which is also a holy day. New radiocarbon dating of the collagen in one of the bones pegs its age to the early 1st century, consistent with the New Testament and Jewish histories of John the Baptist's life. Well, stay tuned. There's more currents ahead after a quick break. Now, when we return, standing in solidarity with Irish Catholics as one of the church's main events winds down. First, it's back out to Our Lady of Hope in Middle Village, where we ask fathers if they get enough credit for raising children.
I think they do. I think it's different than the mothers. I think the mothers are known as the nurturers, you know, bring the children into the world. Kids rely on their mothers in certain ways.
No, I think the mothers tend to get more of the credit than the fathers. They tend to be around more often, but during the daytime, fathers tend to be working more.
I think in my house they do. It's kind of an equal thing, partnership. I know some dads feel they don't, but I think if they look at it, they actually do.
Sometimes no, because the father isn't there for every minute. A lot of times the mother has, the ability to stay home with the child. So not all the time the father gets the credit.
Even the families that just have the fathers working. Fathers spend a lot of time at nighttime or taking the kids to baseball or whatever it might be. I do think they get the credit that's deserved, sure.
Welcome back. It was a week to remember in Ireland's capital, Dublin. The city hosted one of the church's biggest events, but one that does not get a whole lot of fanfare, the International Eucharistic Congress. The week-long event wrapped on Sunday with a mass at Croke Park Stadium, the largest stadium in Ireland. Pope Benedict sent a video message for the 75,000 people who gathered there, talking about a renewal of the liturgy following the Second Vatican Council. The Pope said much still needs to be done. Now, just a day earlier, one of Brooklyn's own auxiliary bishops, Frank Caggiano, addressed a gathering of young people in Dublin. He told them that their generation is the first to live, quote, comfortably in the virtual electronic world. He encouraged the young men and women to be heralds of the Word of God in the electronic world and missionaries of Christ. Back in the Brooklyn Diocese, many thoughts were on Ireland and last week's big event. On Friday, a special mass was held at Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians in Woodside, probably better known as St. Mary's Winfield. We were there for the special event.
Today we're here on this Feast of the Sacred Heart in solidarity with the Eucharistic Congress that is occurring in Ireland. Every 5 years, the Church has an International Eucharistic Congress, and this year it was Ireland's turn to host it. The Irish Apostolate is centered here in this parish, St. Mary's in Winfield. That's why we picked this parish tonight.
Well, we expect Irish people, most of the Irish people, because that's a special celebration that we have in Ireland, Dublin. We expect also Spanish people because this is a bilingual community. We have Korean members also and Anglo peoples in this community.
It's very special this year because it is in Dublin, Ireland, and we're blessed to have the Holy Ghost Fathers here. of Ireland. Father Noel Moynihan is our pastor, and an associate is Father Brendan Duggan.
To say thank you to the Brooklyn Diocese for supporting the Irish Church in their time of need.
I sell tickets for the Irish Apostolate, for the Holy Ghost Fathers, at the different parishes in the Brooklyn Diocese, and we were able to collect a lot of money for them, so it helps with them in the missions.
I was taking my mom, and I'm really glad I came. I had a really wonderful time. It was very interesting. I spent my summers in Ireland when I was a child, and I'm hoping to get my children to go back for the summer and visit their relatives that they haven't met yet.
Well, it's very important because it's our heritage, and I'd like to see my grandchildren being interested in it too.
The Brooklyn Church was originally founded by priests from Ireland. And my reckoning is that, in a sense, the Brooklyn Diocese is thanking the Irish Church and helping the Irish Church in their time of need. Because the Irish Church has gone through a great period of trial between scandals and now economic hardship. And the Church needs to reassert itself as the hope of the people of Ireland. We have the same problems in the Diocese of Brooklyn. We have economic hardship also. We have poverty. We have 250 people coming in here each Thursday for food, in our food pantry. So what we're doing here in Brooklyn, in this parish, is no different to what is in Ireland. So we're the same people. The people of Ireland and the people of Brooklyn are similar. They're the same people. And the Church is to try and serve and give good service. The whole thing is service to the poor and service to people in prayer, in worship. And that's what it's all about.
We have more currents ahead. No moms allowed as young people get some quality time with their fathers. But first, more from Our Lady of Hope in Middle Village, where children from their parish tell us what dads teach them that moms can't.
He helps me with school. He's better at math than my mom, so he helps me with my math a lot.
I really can't think of anything. He can teach me how to do camera stuff, because my mom's not really good with the camera. We played baseball before and football, but baseball we played a few days and then never got back to it.
He can teach me more about electronics, like how to work with my art skills on the computer.
He helps me get better with basketball and soccer.
The mom is the one that you could always go to for advice, and the dad is the one that you can actually take to an amusement park and actually have an adventure with.
Earlier in the show, we asked both dads and children if they think fathers get their due. Well, recently at Our Lady of Hope Church in Middle Village, they made sure that was the case, to the point that mothers were not even allowed. The Fathers Club at the parish hosted a slumber party to give children the opportunity to spend some extra quality time with their dads.
We're sleeping over in Our Lady of Hope School in the gym. Because Dad's in the Fathers Club. We get to stay up late and we had to talk about the great people. No moms are allowed. You need to spend some time with your daddies.
We're doing a Fathers Club event. We've had the Fathers Club. This is our second year running now, where we've done different events throughout the year. Last year in March, we did the sleepover. It was a big success, so we're doing it again this year. Basically we just let the kids run wild for a little while. We're going to sit down, we're going to have a meal. Then we have some events that we have planned for them, races and a basketball free throw tournament, just to keep the kids excited.
Hi.
No moms allowed. They can drop off their husbands and their children, but then they got to go. I guess some complain, but most of all, I know the moms have a good time with it because, think about it. They got a free Saturday night. They should all be thanking us.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm looking forward to my night out.
Very happy. I'm going Easter shopping with some friends.
He knows we're having fun. We're not going anywhere crazy tonight. Another time.
This is an organization that Father Carano put together as a Fathers Club because he felt that sometimes the kids don't get enough time just with the fathers. And he always sees the mothers picking them up from school, and the mothers here, the mothers there. So he started this Fathers Club, and it's been a great thing for the kids.
If a father works so much and he's not with the children, that parental guidance, involvement, concern is always missing, in any family. It's just not, with the Fathers Club members, and obviously the members are here because they want to be here, they have the time. They make the time. Enjoy the evening, enjoy the movie. I thank you for being part of this beautiful community, really. The fathers and all you wonderful, lovely children.
I do this Fathers Club because I like to try and be around more often for my son than my father was able to be for me. Not by his own choice, but because he had to be.
Getting ready for bed.
I think it's good because he works in the day, so I spend the whole day with my mom, and I only see him at night. So spending this whole day with him is pretty nice.
I get to learn more about him, and we get to talk more about the things that we usually wouldn't talk about with everyone else.
I like to sleep here with the covers over me after we watch a movie maybe. I really like it, and I hope I can do this again.
The biggest thing I hope they take away from this is fun. Spending great quality time with their children. I mean, I know that's what I look forward to, and I hope that's what they get out of this. And I made probably, a couple of my best friends, I met at this event last year. And so I hope, everyone, has a great time, quality time with their children, and they make some new friends.
And that is all for tonight. Coming up tomorrow, her name is synonymous with education in the Brooklyn Diocese, and over the weekend, she was honored for her work. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. You can also follow us on Twitter and connect with us on Facebook. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. We leave you with some final thoughts from Our Lady of Hope in Middle Village, where people young and old tell us what they would get their fathers if they had $1 million. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.
If I had $1 million, what I would give my father for Father's Day?
I'd probably buy him a new car.
I would probably give him the new home in Florida that he's been always wanting, him and my mother.
I would give him $1 million. I would give him about $1,000.
I would have just let him retire early and let him relax the last couple of years because he worked right up into the end.
I would take him on a cruise. That's what he always wanted to do.
I would give him a limo.
A limo?
Yeah.